Yesterday, right when we got off the air, LSU secured another transfer portal commitment from NC State defensive back Tamarcus Cooley. Cooley played a lot in the nickel for NC State this past year. His Pro Football Focus grades are fantastic. We've actually gone over those a couple times on this show, but graded out in the 80s against the run and in coverage, which is very, very difficult to do. He's not the most physically imposing dude in the world at just 5'11", but he's 205 pounds, put together pretty well, and not afraid at all to get in there and mix it up against the run, and he'll also cover. And I've contended that I felt like there was a good chance that based on who else LSU could add, that would kind of dictate where Mansour Delane was moved around. And I feel like now that you've got Cooley in the fold and that a lot of people feel like he's going to play safety for LSU, you're starting to see the defensive backfield now truly take shape for Corey Raymond, for Jake Olson, and this group on the LSU secondary side of things. You look at the corner, the boundary corners. You've got Ashton Stamps, you've got DJ Pickett, you've got Jakeem Jackson, and I feel like those three guys are slotted in as potential starters. And I think you put Mansour Delane in that conversation as well. He might be a nickel, he might be a safety, he could play on the outside, but I feel like really on the outside, Stamps, Pickett, and Jakeem Jackson. You've got Aiden Anding and PJ Woodland, who I'm going to put kind of right off to the side for right now, but those guys are in the conversation as well. You start to talk about nickel, and I think it starts with Mansour Delane and Javian Toviano. Delane has more skins on the wall, has certainly played more, has been far more productive, I think is probably a better player at this point, but you have two guys for that spot. I honestly have no real idea what LSU is going to do with Juwan Johnson. Like, he played the star role last year in fall camp, and then all of LSU's running backs got hurt, so he had to go play running back. I don't know what the future holds for him, so I'll mention him and then kind of leave that there. But right now, Toviano and Delane right around the line of scrimmage at nickel, maybe star. And then you move back to the actual safety level, and that's Deshaun Spears, Jordan Gilbert, and now Tamarcus Cooley. I think that is a vastly improved secondary. I do. I think you are more talented at corner than you were last year, and I think you have more options than you did last year. That is putting a lot of eggs in Jakeem Jackson and DJ Pickett's baskets. I get it. Jakeem Jackson was hurt all last year, but he was a starter for Florida prior to that. And right now, I'm going to put DJ Pickett in the conversation with Eli Ricks, with Derek Stingley, with Patrick Peterson, with these number one corners that LSU has brought in. They all played pretty quickly. And maybe that's unfair, maybe it's not, but the recruiting rankings are similar for these guys. It's big, long, physical length, great speed, has been a 5-star for a year and a half. Like, maybe he's not ready to play, and that could be, but he's going to get a whole spring to go through spring football. He's got a summer with the team in conditioning, and he'll have been on campus for over 8 months when LSU plays their first game against Clemson. So right now, I feel pretty good about that group at corner. I think that Delane makes a ton of sense at nickel. And then you move Cooley back to safety. I think he is absolutely a big-time upgrade. And then you let Jordan Gilbert and Deshaun Spears kind of fight it out. And I think that, to me, looks like a group that should be playoff worthy. I think oftentimes the two secondaries that I immediately the three secondaries I point to are 03, 11, and 19. That's the elite of the elite. The 03 team had Corey Webster, a longtime NFL player, had Travis Daniels, a longtime NFL player, had LaRon Landry, who as a freshman led that team in tackling and was a great player in the NFL. And then you had Jack Hunt out there with Randall Gay. Gay was an NFL player, and Jack Hunt was a really good college player back there at safety for LSU. That was a great LSU secondary. You go back to 11, that's as good as it really gets. You've got Morris Claiborne, who's as good a cover guy as there was in the country that year. You add him with Daryl Simon and Tyrann Mathieu on the corners. They were fantastic, both NFL players. You had Eric Reed back there at safety with Brandon Taylor, NFL players. Like, that was as good a secondary as LSU's ever fielded in 2011. But in 2019, you fielded a group that had NFL starters, including an all-pro, on one corner with Stingley as a freshman, and then you had a really good off corner in Christian Fulton, who's still in the NFL and playing well. And then at safety, you had Grant Delpit, who is a stud, was a stud, the Thorpe winner there, and is an NFL guy. That's that type of talent. I didn't even mention Ron Brooks on the 11 team, who was an NFL player. That type of talent is what we have seen LSU produce over the years. This is not that to me, but it could be playoff worthy. And that's kind of what we're looking at right now. They're trying to raise the talent level of the team. Far too often over the last 2 Augusts, when I've been out at camp and I've left practice and I've come here, I've seen people in public, whether it's at birthday party or a restaurant or via text message or whatever the case may be, and I'll get people to say, what do you think about the team? And I just look at I just don't know if they've got the talent level that we're accustomed to with the LSU teams that were consistently top 10 teams in the country. And I think you're getting closer here. I mean, I think it stands to reason there's a reasonable chance that DJ Pickett, Ashton Stamps, Jakeem Jackson, Mansour Delane, Tamarcus Cooley, Deshaun Spears are NFL-type talents. Do they get there or not? I'm not sure. But it stands to reason that they certainly could be. And you hope that Pickett develops into a superstar. That's the highest-end talent that you have. But while you grow those guys up, you bring in guys who have played a ton of football in Cooley and Delane to help foster them along and give you a higher floor. LSU's floor in the defensive backfield the last 2 years has been way too low. And that's what some of these guys are here to do. I'm certainly, and I don't want it to sound like I'm dismissing the careers of P.J. Woodland and Aiden Anding. I'm not. I'm just assessing it the way that I see it. And all the time, there are 3-star, 4-star recruits that bust the door down and become early starters. The guy that comes immediately to my mind when I think about that is Jalen Mills, who was not thought of as the same type of recruit as the Patrick Petersons and the Derek Stingleys and the Kevin Tollivers and the Eli Ricks and the Grant Delpits and the Eric Reeds. He was just a 4-star kid from Texas, and he showed up and he started as a freshman and he never left the field and he still plays in the NFL. And that stuff happens all the time. And if Ashton Stamps has that sort of development, or P.J. Woodland in his second year becomes that kind of dude, or Aiden, I'm not going to dismiss that could happen. But you've got enough depth around those guys to where you've got enough secondary players to put 5 or 6 good ones out there. I just listed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 DBs. 10. I need 5 of those guys to be good players. That's half. Half. And you're in a much better spot than you have been. I think that the game specifically this year was boiled more so down to the line of scrimmage, and I think the teams that you had left in the Final Four are just ridiculous on the line of scrimmage, and that's really, really important, but you still got to cover. And you still got to make plays outside on offense. And I think LSU's got a better chance to cover with this group than they have the last 2 years. Tamarcus Cooley comes in from NC State, played a lot of football and graded out really well on Pro Football Focus. The hope is that you've got another guy in the mold of Jarek Bernard-Converse who played at a different level in a different conference that can come in, be a high-level player, and go on to be an NFL player for you. That's certainly the hope, as Tamarcus Cooley pledges to LSU. It doesn't sound like the Tigers are done in the secondary. They may be looking at another option at safety or nickel as we move forward here. We'll keep you posted if we hear anything here or on LouisianaSports.net. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.